And I think it's really important to understand what AF is and understand what AF means to you. Some people have AF and don't experience many symptoms associated with it, whereas other people might have a lot more symptoms. So kind of understanding your own health and what's going on with your heart is really important. The reason often people are diagnosed with AF is because they are experiencing symptoms. So understanding your symptoms and maybe what triggers those symptoms can be really important for building your confidence and kind of what's going on with your heart. We use the word triggers for kind of things that might set off that AF or set off a set of symptoms. It's interesting that research shows that around 54% of patients report that actually stress can be one of those triggers or a precipitant for their AF symptoms. It can be difficult when you've been used to leading a really active lifestyle and maybe at the extreme end, like that running marathons would say would be at the extreme end of the physical spectrum. So sometimes it might be when you've got a heart condition like AF, you have to rein things in. It doesn't mean that you sit back and do nothing. In fact, the cardiologists and the nurses would still encourage people to stay physically active. It's just around knowing your limits and understanding your limits, and certainly getting that kind of guidance from your doctors will be really important. And it's a really common concern for anyone actually diagnosed with a heart condition. Often that question mark around intimacy, and it might be that the person with the heart condition has it, but it might also be that the partner has concerns around intimacy. And I think it's a worthwhile question asking of a GP or of a cardiologist or a cardiac rehab nurse so that they can give you information for your specific condition. But generally we're advised that intimacy is fine and that it's okay to increase your heart rate a little bit. In fact, the heart is a muscle, and for that muscle to work at its optimum kind of point, we need it to be exercised at times. So actually intimacy can be a really beneficial thing for people with heart conditions as well. Actually, we know that exercise can be a good thing for your heart, but also for your overall mood and sense of well-being. So things like going out, even if it's a short walk, can be enough to boost your mood. Getting some sunshine, getting some fresh air, and getting a little bit of exercise. Sometimes when we go to doctor's appointments or these kind of medical appointments, we might have a whole heap of questions we want to ask, and we get into the appointment and it all goes out of our mind. Or we hear the word heart condition and suddenly we can't hear or remember anything else. So sometimes doing a bit of planning beforehand can be really important. Thinking about what are the questions that you've got, what do you need answered, what's going to help improve your quality of life, what do you need to understand, and maybe writing those down and bringing that along to your appointment and making sure you get the answers. So you can take a pen and paper along to the appointment, ask your questions and write down the answers. Some doctors and medical professionals are even happy to have you record a session with them. So if you've got a smartphone or a dictaphone that you carry around with you, bring it along and check with the person your appointment's with. If you can, record that. And then you can listen back to what was actually said during that appointment. You can also play it back to your family members if they're interested. I guess the other thing preparing for an appointment might be to bring along a support person. Ask a family member or a friend to come along. They might have questions, but also they might listen and hear different things from the appointment and be able to answer even some of your questions afterwards. Because we know that when people are given a whole lot of information, it's hard to remember it all.